For nearly the last 60 years, the Porsche 911 has been the quintessential sports car that every other manufacturer tries to benchmark. Now, because of the 911's success, Porsche has introduced multiple variants of the model. However, it was back in 1976 where Porsche introduced the most powerful, the quickest accelerating, and honestly, the most bonkers 911, the 911 Turbo. Now, since then, every high-performance version of the 911 has sported the Turbo badge, and when Porsche introduced the all-new 8th generation 992 back in 2019, we all knew that a Turbo and a Turbo S model was coming. Now, I actually already had a chance to drive the 2021 Porsche 911 Turbo last February. I was simply blown away by the amount of performance. However, this week, Porsche has literally loaned me the pinnacle of the current 911 992 family. This is the 2022 911 Turbo S with the lightweight package. Essentially, what it does is it reduces the curb weight of this car by nearly 70 pounds, and with 640 horsepower, nearly 70 more versus the Turbo, this car should be the quickest accelerating gas car that I have ever tested. So this week, as you can see, this beautiful racing yellow 911 Turbo S is mine for the week, and the big question I want answered: if you guys are looking for a sports car that can deliver hypercar levels of performance that costs literally a third of the price, how does the all-new 2022 911 Turbo S with the lightweight package stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Hey guys, before I tell you a little bit more about one of the quickest accelerating cars that I've ever tested, I want to tell you about this amazing opportunity where you can win an all-electric sports sedan that's nearly as quick as that 911 Turbo S. That's right, I'm talking about a year one edition Audi RS Etron GT, the beloved electric sports sedan that's built off of the Porsche Taycan architecture, which means the specs are impressive. Up to 637 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, and a top speed of 152 miles an hour. All you have to do to enter for a chance to win and support a great cause like Oscar's Kids is go to omaze.com/RR Audi, or you can also click in the link in the description below, where you can support a great cause like Oscar's Kids. It's a charity that supports and enriches the lives of children and families navigating pediatric cancer and other childhood diseases. This foundation was created to honor the legacy of Oscar Keogh, a young boy from Ireland who passed away from DIPG at the age of 5. Oscar's Kids is on a mission to help children and their families on both sides of the Atlantic. So what are you waiting for, guys? All you have to do to enter for a chance to win this amazing electric sports sedan and support a great cause like Oscar's Kids is go to www.omaze.com/RR Audi, or just click in the link in the description below. And now, let's get back to the video. So when you're driving around a car like the Porsche 911 Turbo S, the first thing I want to talk about, of course, is the powertrain. Now, sadly, I wish I could show you guys what this beautiful flat-six engine looks like. However, this is a rear engine car, so the engine sits behind basically the rear axle, and you can't really see it. Porsche basically allows you to open up this little partition, and you can see basically 2 fan blades and a Turbo S badge. But underneath this rear engine or rear shelf, you'll basically find a 3.75 liter, it's basically a 3.8 liter is what Porsche calls it, flat-six turbocharged engine. So it's a twin turbocharged with a variable geometry turbo. This engine basically starts life as a base Carrera. The base Carrera is 3 liter. Porsche bores it out. They've added bigger turbos to it. It's got direct injection, of course. It makes 640 horsepower because the turbos are stuffing it with 22.5 pounds of boost pressure and 590 pound-feet of torque. That is a substantial 67 more horsepower versus the base turbo, which, by the way, if you guys are also keeping score, the previous 991.2 generation Turbo S made 580 horsepower. So this is a substantial increase in power. And also keep in mind that Porsche tends to be pretty conservative with their power figures. So this is probably pushing out 640 at the crank. This car is going to be significantly faster than its numbers may suggest. Now, it all goes out through an 8-speed PDK transmission. Porsche, of course, added an extra gear for this new generation. It's a beefed up PDK versus the standard 911. All 911 Turbos and Turbo S models are all-wheel drive with launch control, of course. We'll be testing out the 0 to 60 claim, which Porsche claims is 2.6 seconds for this model when we get this car out on the road. Now, gas prices are expensive, but if you can afford a car like this, you probably don't care that much. And this vehicle is rated at 15 in the city and 20 on the highway. It's got roughly a 20-gallon gas tank. Premium, of course, is going to be required. This car will also reach a top speed of 205 miles an hour, which I'm not going to be testing out today out on public roads, obviously. And because of the lightweight package, this model here weighs in at just over 3,500 pounds. It's about, like I said earlier, 70 pounds lighter versus a non-lightweight package equipped 911 Turbo S. But let's go ahead and close the rear shelf here. I'm going to talk about the styling, and obviously I'm going to talk about the rear styling of this car first, because there isn't really very many changes versus a standard 911 Turbo. The Turbo models essentially are almost 2 inches wider versus a standard 911. You can really see the wide hips for this vehicle. It's got the signature Porsche light blade across the back. My tester also has the model designation in a satin black finish, which definitely makes it look good with the racing yellow. You can see the taillights. These are the optional $1,000 clear taillights. You can see this here lights up as red, but it's not illuminated, it's actually just clear. You can see it's got full LED taillights. The Turbo S model with the lightweight package also includes the sport exhaust. You can see this is how you'll be able to tell it's the sport exhaust, because it's just got 2 oval pipes at the back. And it's also got a blacked out pipe. This thing sounds pretty mean. This is a US spec car, so it doesn't have all those particulate filters and sound restrictors that you get with the European model. So let's go ahead and fire it up and let you guys hear what it sounds like. So obviously the GT3 911 with its naturally aspirated flat 6 is still the best sounding, but still that's actually a pretty good noise. So I was genuinely surprised with how this sounds. And you can see this spoiler back here is a functional spoiler that does actually raise up and down, which is really nice. It actually will raise up at speeds, at highway speeds, and at speeds of up to over 160 miles an hour, it actually will create up to 375 pounds of downforce. You can see these slats, you can also get them kind of painted if you'd like to increase or to make the car's rear look a little bit nicer. And then looking at the rear of this vehicle, you can see the proportions of this car are just really beautiful. The tires in the back are incredibly fat. You can see these are a 21-inch wheel by 12 inches across. So it's basically a foot wide tire wrapped in 315/30 ZR-R21 Goodyear Eagle F1 summer performance tires. You can see all the Turbo S models come standard with these carbon ceramic brakes. These are 15.4 inches in the back. The front rotors are actually larger. They're 16.5 inches. These are clamped by 4 piston calipers, 10 piston calipers at the front. So again, serious braking power. And that's one of the other reasons why you want the Turbo S, is because these carbon ceramics are typically 10 grand. It's standard on the Turbo S, and that's part of why this model here costs roughly $38,000 more or $33,000 more versus the standard Turbo. Now, of course, because it's a rear engine design, you do have this functional air vent here that allows air to get back there and cool off the engine. And because this one here also, with the lightweight package, it has the option for a carbon fiber roof. This is about $4,000 extra. It helps reduce the center of or the weight up at the top of the vehicle. And then, of course, like so many other Porsches, you can literally customize this vehicle to your liking. Looking at the profile here, I just love this car. It's got that classic 911 look and proportions. You can really see the wide hips that this car has at the back because it's nearly 2 inches wider. And around 178 inches long, this is still a very manageable sports car. So it's not as wide and it's not as low as some other supercars that you probably may be worried about fitting into your garage or scraping on everything. You can see, looking at the front of the vehicle, the headlights are just the classic look. This one here has the black accented LED matrix design style headlights. You can see it's got the traditional 4-point LEDs. It's got an LED turn signal. This light signature here for the turn signal is very included with the Porsche, the Turbo models. Only the Turbo and Turbo S gets this specific design. I really like the look of it, along with the LED matrix design headlights. And you can see this one here doesn't have the sport design package for like an extra $6,000, so it's got more of the tamer front end. But you can see in the racing yellow, it really does look great. You'll be able to distinguish the 992 when you look at the hood cut line, how it's more of that square shape. That's a very unique trait when you guys go for this specific model. Now, my tester is also missing the front axle lift system, which will raise the car up by about 1.6 inches. But when you guys have the vehicle in sport mode, there's actually a deployable front lip down here that helps to, again, increase the downforce for this vehicle and make it slightly more aerodynamic. Now remember, this is a 911, so it does come with a front trunk because the engine obviously is in the back of the vehicle, and it's actually a surprisingly big frunk. This vehicle offers around 4.6 cubic feet. As you can see, it's also a very deep space. It's well carpeted in here. It's also lit up as well. When you combine that with the rear cargo area, which is basically in where the back seats would be, this car has a total of just under 14 cubic feet of space. So if you guys do keep the back seats, this one here does not have it, you could actually argue that it is a relatively practical car, at least by sports car / supercar standards. So obviously the 911 Turbo S is a beautiful car from the outside, but let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of this vehicle. That's where you're going to be spending most of your time anyways. Here is the current Porsche key fob. You can see it still looks like a little car, which is nice. Very small amount of buttons. You basically just have lock, unlock, and you can open up the front. There's a panic button on the back. Surprisingly, you cannot open the rear shelf that shows off the little 2 fans in the 911 Turbo display, which I guess is not really necessary for a vehicle like this. Now, as you approach the car, you can see the door handle actually retracted there. As I approach the car, it actually will pop out as you touch the door handle or as you approach the car. That allows you to obviously pull the door handle and let yourself in. Now, my tester with the lightweight package also includes the full racing bucket seats. You can see these are a carbon fiber seat. They do save weight. I believe Porsche says it saves like 8 pounds or something like that. And these seats are basically fixed. You can't recline them. All you can do is basically move the seat forward and back, and you can also raise and lower the seats slightly. So this seat, you make sure they work for you, because for me, when I sit in the seats, they're comfortable, but when you want to get out of the seat, they are the most annoying seat to get out of, because this here doesn't actually give. So this little portion here basically will stab you in the bottom every time you get in and out of this vehicle. My tester also has the racing yellow matching seat belts for $600 to $40, which looks great. The full leather interior, you can see the door panel has full leather with real stitching. There's genuine carbon fiber and aluminum. Padded area over here. My tester also has the Bose stereo with 540 watts of power, which sounds decent. There's a Burmester audio system available for $4,000 extra if you guys prefer, and you can see the window switches feel pretty high quality. Both windows are auto up down, which is what you expect from a car that has a well over 6-figure price tag. Now, getting inside is kind of difficult if you guys are not really that much or limber anymore. You can see getting in, this area here doesn't flex, but getting in the car is actually easier versus getting out. So I would much rather get into this car versus get out, because as you can see, when you want to get out, you basically have to like push your body up and use your midsection to get out and literally sit on the bottom of this seat, which literally goes up your butt every time you're trying to get out of the car. But yes, just wanted to show you guys what that was like. But getting inside, settling in, the seats are really comfortable once you're settled in. But again, I would go with the 18-way regular seats as opposed to these sport racing seats. Now, getting in and shutting the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. It's also very heavy. I really like the matching yellow for the for the tachometer and for the sport chrono watch. And then typical Porsche, there's a little switch right here. You have to put your foot on the brake and then twist this like a traditional key. You can hear the engine just sounds special every time it starts up. There is a very traditional looking gauge display here, but if you'll notice, this is actually digital, and then the center tack is an analog display. That is very Porsche, very traditional. There's a 10.9-inch Porsche Connect infotainment system here that includes wireless Apple CarPlay, but Android Auto, which they added this year, I'm sorry, has to be connected via cable. So it's not wireless Android Auto, it's only wireless Apple CarPlay. The rest of this dash here, you can see it's got the same leather stitching on the upper portion, also over here on the upper portion here where the airbag cover is. Down here you can see it's also leather stitched. There is a lot of piano black plastic on the center console here, and then this one here with the racing seats removes the heated and ventilated seat option. So again, that's another reason to go for the 18-way seats if you're not planning to track this car. Real carbon fiber trim on this model as well, which looks great. And then the lightweight package also removes the power tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which I really personally like. So there's a manual adjustment here where you can see it offers a good amount of adjustability and range so you can get comfortable for this vehicle. My tester does have the heated steering wheel option, at least. It's behind the little portion here on the wheel. And then if you honk the horn, it sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound puny like some other competing sports cars that I have recently tested. Now, looking over here on terms of the infotainment display, you can see all your usual sources are to the left over here. That's what I have it in terms of audio. There's the navigation, which you can see takes up the entire nearly 11-inch display. It's nothing super special, but it's quick, it's snappy, it's responsive. I like that. There's also, you can go to the car display here where you can adjust multiple things, set your different drive modes, or you can also use the drive mode selector here. You can see there's a wet mode, a sport plus mode, and then there's also an individual mode. So we'll try out the different drive modes later on during the driving scene, but you can also adjust the spoiler. You can raise that and lower that, and you can also raise and lower or extend the front chin spoiler to help with aerodynamics. Going over to the climate, you can see there's your AC controls. This vehicle does have dual zone climate control. My tester is missing the ionizer, which is optional. It's an a la carte option. Of course, with Porsche, they make you pay extra for everything. Going to the apps, there's some of your apps that are built in through the Porsche Connect, and then there's your Apple CarPlay. Sadly, you cannot extend this to take up the entire screen, so you're dealing with this really small display here, which I'm not a fan of. I hope Porsche eventually updates this to make it so it takes up the entire screen, but my phone is connected wirelessly, which is really nice. There's your driver assistance functions. You can see my tester only basically has automatic emergency braking, I believe. And that's it. It doesn't have any other option because that is all a la carte, typical Porsche. Everything else here, you can go to settings there. You can always adjust everything. My tester is also missing the ambient lighting, which again is an a la carte option. So at night here, it doesn't look all that special. Now over here you can see there are a couple of shortcut buttons for the sport exhaust, stability control. That's your Porsche dynamic chassis control, which comes standard with the lightweight package. That'll adjust the suspension between a comfort and a normal and a sport setting. Down here you can see really nice clicky controls for the climate control. This piano black plastic panel here does resist fingerprints a little bit, but for those of you who prefer the traditional feel, that's going to obviously be a little bit annoying to keep clean. This is the shifter for the 8-speed PDK. Click it all the way forward to go to reverse. You can see there's the backup camera. My tester is missing the 360 surround view camera, but it does have front and rear parking sensors, which is nice. Kick it all the way down to go to drive, push the P to go to park, and then there's a manual mode. There's paddles on the wheel as well. They're metal paddle shifters, which look and feel really nice. One cup holder over here, electronic parking brake, and then there's a nice padded armrest here, which offers a somewhat shallow center console storage area. My tester is missing a wireless phone charger, which is optional. There are 2 USB-A charging ports in there, a SIM card and SD card reader. This is nice and padded as well. Over here in the glove box, you can see it's damped in line with felt. It's a bin style. Decent storage, actually. There's also a little bit of pocket storage over here along each of the door panel, which is nice. And then you can see behind me, there should be back seats, but with the lightweight package, it removes those back seats to save weight. That's really what's the majority of the weight saving is coming from. There's actually leather stitching along the entire rear door panel there. And the lightweight glass, you can see, is also missing a rear defogger, I believe. So that's something to keep in mind. But overall, the interior, as you can see, is really well done. Great tech, a great driver feel to it. Amazing looking display here, how it looks traditional, but it's actually a digital display. And the driving position for me is bang on. My recommendation, just skip these seats, because unless you plan to race the car constantly, I would just go with the standard 18-way seats. So here we are in the quickest accelerating Porsche 911 that Porsche currently builds. I mean, I had a chance to drive the turbo model last February in the winter time, so I am super excited to finally get some time in the even quicker 911 Turbo S, and it's summertime, so it's about 80 degrees outside almost. We've got these Pirelli summer tires on this car, or I'm sorry, they're Goodyear summer tires on this car, and I'm excited because Porsche says 2.6 seconds 0 to 60 in this car. However, Car and Driver I've seen has tested it as quick as 2.1 for this model because we're in the lightweight package. So this could very well be the quickest accelerating car I have ever tested. So I'm a little nervous as we go into launching this car, but you know what? I want to show you guys how fast this thing is. And launching it couldn't be easier. You put it in sport mode instead of sport plus because the spoilers aren't deployed. Basically, push the sport response button, floor it. Oh! Oh my God! 2.62 seconds there. Wow, that literally was the most brutal launch I have ever felt. And there was no wheel spin. This car is all-wheel drive. It's got a PDK, an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. This 3.7 liter, it's technically, Porsche calls it a 3.8. Technically, it's a 3.7. Makes 640 horsepower. Hold on, I'm trying to get my thoughts back together. This thing is absolutely bonkers fast. And I'm actually surprised. 2.6 is bang on with Porsche's number. So it makes me wonder, how the heck did Car and Driver get 2.1 in this car? I mean, my timer here is a very, very accurate thing. So let's go ahead and try it one more time. It's in Sport again. Let's try it in Sport Plus. I'll push the Sport Response button. Oh! All right, that was 2.57 seconds there. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to breathe again. Literally, the feeling this car gives you is the same feeling you get in your stomach when I'm on a roller coaster and the G-forces are just so insane that my stomach is kind of left back there, and I feel like my palms are all sweaty too. That is without a doubt the quickest accelerating car that I've ever tested. Even the electric cars I've tested haven't gotten this fast as this. Now granted, I haven't driven a Model S Plaid or any of the Plaid or performance Model S versions, but oh my God. This is just absolutely insane. I mean, this is the pinnacle of internal combustion vehicles, and this smokes any other supercar that I've driven. I'm talking about like McLaren GT, McLaren 720S, Acura NSX Type S, Audi R8, which is pretty similar to a Lamborghini Huracan. I am just flabbergasted at how fast this car is, but it's also very, very docile. I have it in Sport Plus right now. This car does have adaptive dampers. We are on these 20/21-inch wheels. The rear tires are freaking fat, guys. It's 12 inches across. That's how wide the rear rim is. I mean, a foot wide, which is just crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And the steering in this car is also basically telepathic. It's electric power steering, but Porsche just knows how to do electric power steering. I keep staring at that 2.57 seconds, guys. I've never experienced something so fast, yet this thing is so easy to drive fast. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. 22.5 PSI of boost, and this thing is just, oh my God, when it launches, it's just crazy. Absolutely freaking crazy. I am in love with this car. I could get used to that. That is just absolutely nuts. But you know what? I want to try it one more time because I think I could get, again, a little bit better than the 2.57, but we'll see. Because I want to see if I can get closer to what Car and Driver claims. Sport Response. 2.51 there. Oh, Jesus. 2.5 seconds. I don't know if we're going to get any better than that, guys. So I'm a little bit suspicious of Car and Driver's claim of 2.1, 2.2 is what they claim for this car, but 2.5, that's on a level surface, by the way. That is absolutely stupid fast. And what's interesting is, it's terrifying. Oh my God, that thing just wants to keep revving all the way to 7,000 RPM. Oh, my heart. Okay, that's fast enough. All right, let's go into normal mode here because I want to talk about how this car just drives as a daily driver because I'm in the carbon fiber racing buckets, and let me tell you guys, this is a pain in the ass to get out of this damn seat. But once you're in the seat, it is very comfortable. Sadly, you cannot get these seats with heated or ventilation. So my recommendation is, unless you're going to track this car all the time, I would just go for the 18-way sport seats. In this mode in normal, the ride is certainly firm. This is firmer than the last turbo that I drove, which was like a year and a half ago. Also firmer than a GTS 911, which for me has always been the sweet spot. This feels significantly faster than the GTS. I'm not entirely sure it feels that much faster than the turbo. Now granted, when I had the turbo a year and a half ago, I didn't have my 0 to 60 testing equipment, and I remember that car gave me the same feeling. So remember, this car is about $33,000 more expensive versus the turbo, and I'm trying to figure out, is it worth that cost? Because that's a lot of money in the grand scheme of things still. I mean, this car that we're driving is a little over $238,000, just stupid amount of money. However, it has the performance that you would expect from a hypercar, something that costs like $1 million, which is insane. If you look at it from that angle, this car is kind of a bargain, considering the fact that I'm also just driving this car normally right now, and it's still really damn easy to drive. If you aren't hard on the throttle, which you're gonna be wanting to do, but just make sure you have a nice wide open road when you do that. It feels like any other 911. The ride quality is agreeable, the visibility is excellent. My tester is missing all of the Porsche driver assistance, doesn't even have lane changes or blind spot monitoring because this one is a race car. So yes, it isn't exactly the most luxurious 911, but again, you can kind of get rid of the lightweight package. This is supposed to make it the faster car. This car weighs about 70 pounds less than a standard Turbo S. I can't really compare the two because I haven't driven a standard Turbo S, but this car feels very wide. It feels very low. It doesn't feel very heavy by modern car standards. It actually feels pretty nimble. I'd have to take this out to a track to really see, what it's like. But remember, the turbo models are supposed to be more of the GT cruisers. So you're gonna want a GT3 if you want that with a high revving engine. Hopefully I can get a hold of one of those and drive those soon. Drive that soon to show you guys what that's like. But in my week's worth of testing as well, in terms of fuel economy, I averaged around 16 mpg in my week's worth of testing in city driving in this car, which is, not wonderful, but it's also not as hateful as I thought. On the highway, I got it up to around 21 mpg, which is actually the same as what I got in the Turbo S, or in the regular Turbo a year and a half ago in the wintertime. So I suspect, this car, if you drive it more docile, it should get pretty decent MPG. Remember, premium is the required fuel. This car has a top speed of 205 miles an hour, and I'm not going to test it out on public roads if that's the case. But I believe it, considering how fast this thing gets to 60. It literally gets to 90 miles an hour in 4.3 seconds from what I understand in this car. But as the quickest accelerating car I have driven to date, this thing is unbelievable. It is docile when you want it to be, stupid, insane fast, ludicrous fast. I know that's a Tesla thing when you put it in Sport Plus. Yet it's also relatively comfortable. It has all the tech that you could want. And obviously, $240,000 is out of reach for most people, but if you're comparing this to hypercars costing $500,000 to $1 million, it's kind of a bargain. But other than that, wow. The 911 has been that sports car that everyone else benchmarks against, and driving the pinnacle version of the 911 for now really puts your mind into perspective and really reminds me that we are at the pinnacle of internal combustion engines right now. So about a year and a half ago, when I first had a chance to sample the 992 911 Turbo, the one step below the Turbo S, I was really impressed with that car. And also keep in mind, I drove that car around when it had winter tires on it when it was in the middle of February here in the Pennsylvania area, and it was just not suited for those conditions to get maximum performance. I mean, the beauty about the 911 Turbo is you can drive this vehicle out in all types of weather conditions with the right tires, but obviously you're not going to be able to launch the car as hard. So now that I spent a week with the crazy 911 Turbo S with the lightweight package here in the summertime, this car simply is breathtaking. I mean, it is without a doubt the quickest accelerating gas car that I have ever tested. Obviously, I still need to get my hands on some even quicker electric cars like the Model S Plaid, but this car put a huge smirk on my face every time I drove it. It actually made me feel sick to my stomach every time I get on the throttle, and it really gives you the sweaty palm feeling that you're kind of demanding a car with this much horsepower to do to you. Now, obviously, it is fast when you start getting hard on the throttle, but it's also extremely docile, and that's the beauty about the 911 Turbo, is you can drive this car on a daily basis with the right options and drive it every day, and it's actually a very comfortable daily driver when you're not getting on the throttle extremely hard. Fuel economy was pretty decent. The seats in this car, I hate the seats because they're horrible when you want to get out of the car, but when you're in them, they hold you in place nicely. And if you plan to track this car, which I suspect those of you who buy the lightweight package are probably planning to do so, me personally, I would probably skip the option entirely because I don't think saving that extra 70 pounds is worth the $10,000 price tag. But if you guys want a Turbo S, this car starts at around $216,000. Porsche has increased the price of this car by about $12,000 since the Turbo and Turbo S models came out last year. I guess that's just how we deal with inflation and how we're dealing with the chip shortage. My particular tester here has the $10,000 lightweight package, the $4,000 carbon fiber roof, the yellow seat belts, the yellow accents for the speedometer, or for the tachometer, and for the stopwatch timer. All in, this one here is just over $238,000. That's right. 911s start at around $106,000 for a base Carrera. This one here is well over twice the price tag for a starting line. Now keep in mind, that is a lot of money obviously, but if you're going to compare this car to hypercars like from Ferrari, from Lamborghini, from Porsche's own 918, their hybridized electric sports car, electric gas sports car, that was like well over $1 million. So you can look at it from that way, this car offers similar performance to a hypercar for a fraction of the price. And it's also an incredibly easy car to live with on a daily basis. It just doesn't quite get the attention that those cars get, but hey, if you want to fly under the radar while having the practicality, this is the ultimate 911 for now. I think that Porsche still knows how to build the right sports car for enthusiasts out there, and they still manage to honestly price them well within, what enthusiasts who can afford a vehicle like this are looking for. With all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2022 Porsche 911 Turbo S equipped with the lightweight package. I honestly, personally would skip the package, but for those of you who can afford a vehicle like this, you simply can't go wrong with a 911. It's still one of the best sports cars out there, and there's a reason why all the manufacturers benchmark their sports car against this vehicle here. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.